So let's go through the village of idiots. Here's idiot number one. The absolutely hapless, fake tough guy loser from Rhode Island, David Cicilline, a Russian conspiracy theory hoaxer who still lies to his constituents, is a disgrace to his constituents. Anyone who knows this guy, how does this guy wake up and look his family in the eye? He was one of the big collusion hoaxers. He got caught in the biggest lie, promoting the biggest scandal and defending the weaponization of government. That's who this guy is. Defending anti-First Amendment political spying, despite the fact that he got busted lying numerous times and was humiliated on every interview he did on Fox. Cicilline, this loser, he goes again yesterday up in front of the alleged hearing and leaves out a significant piece of information about political bias when he said this. Check this out.
In December 2019, the Justice Department's own Inspector General, your department's, Michael Horowitz, found that the investigation had been initiated properly and without political bias. Isn't that correct?
No.
It's not correct? That was not Mr. Horowitz's finding?
No. He said...
You are wrong, Mr. Attorney General.
Okay. Now, Cicilline's a fascinating little loser because Cicilline leaves out these key facts about what Horowitz said. Now, you may say, well, Dan, how do you know that? Because I have the actual video of Horowitz saying it. Cicilline says, well, Horowitz said that, the initiation was... Horowitz did say that it was initiated. He didn't have any evidence. The investigation was initiated without political bias. But then Horowitz went on, the Inspector General for the Justice Department, which Cicilline, because he's a conspiracy theorist hoaxer and a liar and a discredited zero. And keep in mind, Barr can't say this, but I can. Here's what Horowitz actually said. Let's play two clips about what the real political bias was, which Cicilline left out. Check this out.
Is it correct that you found no evidence that the investigation was motivated by anti-Trump or political bias? Is that correct?
We found no evidence that the initiation of the investigation was motivated by political bias. It gets murkier. The question gets more challenging, Senator, when you get to the FISA and when you get to the attorney's actions, for example, in connection with that FISA.
Did they have a duty to report to their supervisors and eventually to the court exculpatory information?
Absolutely.
They did not.
They did not.
Why?
That's the question I can't specifically answer for you.
Can you say it wasn't because of political bias?
On decisions regarding those FISA matters, I do not know their state of mind at this point.
Okay, so just to be clear, because that's not me in like a Michael Horowitz costume. Yeah, but that would be some really good makeup. That's Horowitz himself contradicting what Cicilline said. Cicilline, so you're saying this thing was initiated without political bias. And then he went on to caveat it by saying, well, he couldn't eliminate political bias for the decisions later in the FISA. Cicilline leaves that out because he's a liar. And I'm really sorry if you believe this zero. I'm really sorry. You may say, gosh, so Horowitz didn't say there was no political bias in the case? No, that's not what he said. Matter of fact, Horowitz went on later to talk to Senator Ron Johnson in a hearing, and he indicated there may have been even more political bias that Cicilline conveniently left out because he's a liar and a loser. That's what he does. Here's Horowitz in Horowitz's own words.
But you definitely, in both of these investigations, you found political bias.
We found, through the text messages, evidence of people's political bias, correct.
Also, political motivation. For example, Bruce Ord talked about how Christopher Steele was desperate to make sure that President Trump didn't become president.
Well, as to Mr. Steele, that was, of course, a very important part of this discussion, is when they understood his motivations and his potential bias. And we have the November statement from Mr. Orr that he had been told by Mr. Steele that he was desperate to prevent.
So again, so you're not denying.
Joe, did I hear that right? So he did find political bias. I'm just checking. Okay, I did. Paul, did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Again, come to this show if you're interested in the facts. If you want to hear lies, listen to the loser from Rhode Island, David Cicilline, who's been caught promoting political spying, the weaponization of government and law enforcement. He's been caught lying on the record multiple times. He has no credibility. Why would you listen to a known liar? A known liar who supports police state spying, who's a rude and obnoxious little punk. To an actual public servant, Bill Barr. Why would you listen to this loser? Again, an intellectual lightweight, a dunce, and luckily a guy who doesn't have 1/1000th of the platform I do to call him out on his known lies. I just played for you what Horowitz actually said, which contradicts Cicilline's characterization of it. He leaves off all the rest of it. Horowitz said the initiation of the case couldn't find political bias. Okay, there's a whole other point to that. He found a whole boatload of political bias elsewhere, and regarding the other decisions, he couldn't eliminate political bias as a reason.
You just heard Dan Bongino.